I'm here with animator Ron Campbell, and he has a display here at Bismarck Art and Galleries Association. So I'm really glad you could be in Bismarck, Ron.
Well, thank you. I'm really happy to be here.
How did you start your art career?
Gosh, I think I became interested in animation. My earliest memories, I was drawing, and I used to go to the movies on a Saturday afternoon. That was how children were entertained in those days before television. And always there was a program of children's cartoons, and among those cartoons I vividly remember were Tom and Jerry's, and I just loved them, and I was convinced Tom and Jerry were running around behind the screen somehow. However, when I learned that they were just drawings, that became very, very interesting to me, and I thought to myself, gee, I can do a drawing and it can seem to live and run and hit Tom on the head with a hammer and do all kinds of things just with a drawing. Wow, that's amazing. So that was my first interest in animation. And then I went to art school, of course. Came out of art school, television came to Australia. Suddenly there was a need for animation, a market for animation. I was on the leading edge of that. Started making commercials. One thing led to another. The next thing I know, 50 years and 1 month have gone by, and I'm retiring and now doing paintings based on the cartoons I work on.
So how did you end up working with the Beatles?
Well, I first started doing cartoons for American television for a company called King Features. There was Popeyes, there was Crazy Cat, there was Beetle Bailey. And then King Features sold the idea of a Beatles TV cartoon show to the Beatles. And Al Brodax phoned me up one night and asked me if I would direct it, the episodes that he wanted to produce in Australia. And I said, you bet, what's the show, Al? And he said, it's the Beatles. And I said, gee, Al, insects don't make very good cartoon characters for children. I hadn't heard of the Beatles at that point. It was 1964.
Oh. So you weren't like a huge fan. You were like, oh my God, I get to work on the Beatles cartoon.
No, I wasn't a huge fan of popular music at all. And so I quickly learnt who the Beatles were, I can tell you that, and loved them ever since.
Maybe it worked to your advantage that you weren't very, totally starstruck when you first met them, because you could kind of keep an objective and keep an open mind on it.
That's a good point. I was not starstruck, and I'm not starstruck now either.
Yeah.
You know, when it's all boiled down. I love their music. I think their music is among the best of the rock and roll genre of the 20th century. But starstruck, no. The only one I didn't like was Elvis Presley, because all my girlfriends had his picture up on the building.
So you're just a little jealous.
Yeah. Yes, I don't know. No, he was a sneering little greaseball. I didn't like him at all. With his greasy hair and duck-tailed backside. Elvis sucked.
Now, do people ever ask you who was your favorite Beatle?
They do ask me, but I don't have a favorite Beatle. I loved them all, you know. And people also ask me, what was your favorite cartoon that you worked on? Well, how do you tell the difference between Scooby-Doo and George of the Jungle, or Smurfette and Angelica in the Rugrats? I love them all.
Right. How many cartoons do you think you've worked on? Just looking at your collage behind you, I had no idea you were responsible for so many characters.
I've never counted them.
That's crazy.
There is a on my bio. There's a long list of most of them, but
wow.
But that's not all of them.
Wow.
There's some of them I've totally forgotten.
Yeah. Let's see. You have the Beatles, you have Sesame Street, you have Winky, Dinky and You, George of the Jungle, Tom Slick, Super Chicken, Yogi Bear, Scooby-Doo, Harlem Globetrotters, Nanny and the Professor, Big Blue Marble, I loved Captain Caveman. He's just a lovable guy. Captain Caveman, Flintstones, Jetsons, Smurfs, Snorks, Paw Paws, Heathcliff, Pac-Man, Ghostbusters, the Smoggies, I never heard of that one, Stuart Little, Bonkers, Winnie the Pooh, Darkwing Duck, Goof Troop, DuckTales, Tailspin, Rugrats, Rocket Power, Duckman, Og, Real Monsters, and Ed, Ed, and Eddie. Now, what was probably the hardest one you had to draw? Did you have one that you just really struggled with?
No, I loved them all.
Yeah. What made you decide you're just gonna? Or do you just kind of travel around now, tour around the country, and just talk to people and do kind of what you're doing here in Bismarck?
Yeah, all my life the audience was numbers on a page, and on that page were the ratings. So many millions of people, or hundreds of thousands, have watched a film. You know. Now in my retirement, I do paintings, and I go around. In order to sell paintings, you have to make personal appearances. So I travel around the country, going somewhere once a month, and in that process I have got to meet hundreds of members of the audience of cartoons that I've been involved with, and that has been a revelation to me, just how deeply loved many of the characters are. So, and it's a lot of fun. Believe me, when you're 75 years old and you can live like I do, you're ahead of the game.
Yeah. When you can do what you love and actually make money at it.
Yeah, I can even pay my electric bill now.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah. Well, I think there's really no downside to cartoons. Who doesn't love a cartoon? I think everyone had a beloved childhood cartoon, just something that got you through tough times, something that made you happy.
That's right. Absolutely, and it's not just here in the United States, it's all over the world. Wherever I go, if anybody hears, hello, my name is Ron Campbell, I worked on Scooby-Doo. It's a calling card, and it doesn't matter if I was in Afghanistan or if I was, wherever television exists, Scooby-Doo exists, and a whole lot of other things too. And it is one of the reasons why America is so loved by the ordinary people of the world, no matter what their governments might say.
That's true. Now, do you ever look back at your life and say, how did I get so lucky?
I should,
Because, you could be working on a railroad or something like that, Ron.
Yeah, railroad. I don't know. I don't know. I probably should. If I was a religious man, I'd be getting down on my knees and thanking God for a wonderful life. I have not really known any tragedies in my life except the natural passing of family members and stuff. I have been lucky, a charmed life, really.
So, what's your advice to other young artists, like my kid here, who wants to make their living as an artist? Because it's not easy.
Okay, if they want to be a fine artist, a really fine artist, by that I mean a painter, do not go to art school. But if you want to be a commercial artist, you go to art school. If you want to be an animator, I guess you need to go to art school long enough to learn to draw well enough to be able to animate. Many animators are not very good artists, however. They're just great animators, and so you don't need a degree in art. You don't have to spend $250,000. You just have to learn to draw so that when you put a line down, it goes where you want it to, not where you don't want it to. So if you want to be a school teacher, however, you must get a degree. So that's my advice.
All right. Well, thanks, Ron.
You're welcome.